All right. So, basically, what is Tasker? Tasker is the most fun game you'll ever play on. No, it's not a game. Basically, Tasker is an Android application that's designed to help you automate your phone, as well as other things, but mostly your phone. It can do all sorts of different triggers and actions, and like notifications and sounds and lights and all sorts of crazy things that will start to make sense as you start to see these ideas of like what you can automate on your phone. So let me try to set something real quick so that doesn't fall asleep.
I want to know what you're driving that with.
Chromecast.
Oh.
Yeah, just a Chromecast doing the screencasting.
It's right here, Phil.
Oh. That's super neat.
Display, Tyler.
Display. I know.
Sleep.
There we go.
30 minutes.
Can we write a Tasker script to change that?
Can.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, you can get Tasker on the Play Store. I think it's $3.
Yes, it's $2.99.
$2.99. And it's totally worth it. So hopefully by the end of this, you'll understand why. So some of the things that you can automate. So what are some ideas? Like, why would you want to automate your phone? Some of the things I do is when I get in my car and it connects to my car's Bluetooth, it goes into car mode, which is a thing I've set. It turns the music volume all the way up. It opens up Spotify, it starts playing my playlist, and then any text messages that come in at that time actually get read out loud over the Bluetooth. It turns off the Wi-Fi. I think there's a couple other little tweaks and stuff that it does. But then when I get out of my car, when the Bluetooth goes away, then it sets everything back the way it was. So that's one little handy thing. You can set up stuff like nighttime mode, where after you've plugged in your phone and it's like 10 p.m. or later, whenever you go to bed, it can go ahead and dim the screen. You can go ahead and put it in silent mode. It can change a couple of settings. Some people like to turn off like data overnight, turn off the 3G, make sure it's connected to Wi-Fi, stuff like that. You can have Tasker set up to automatically disable your lock screen whenever you're at home. So if it sees your home Wi-Fi or a home Bluetooth device or something like that, it'll disable your lock screen. You can have it so that it silences your phone when you flip your phone face down. Like, it has sensors that check orientation, stuff like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and explain some of the parts, and then we'll make some example little tasks, and then y'all can ask me how to do specific things or if it can do specific things. And then I'll talk about some of the plugins and stuff that people have written for Tasker. So for most Tasker things, there's two big parts. There's the profile and then there's the task. So a task is an action or a series of actions. So I'm going to go ahead and create one. There's this little plus button. Oh, I'll need to turn sideways. Let's see if I can.
If you go into settings,
Yeah, I don't have it on here.
and developer options, you can like turn on touches. Is that
Oh,
what
yeah?
you're looking for?
Yes.
Like all the way at the bottom. You don't have go to about phone.
Oh yeah. I haven't done this in a while.
Build number?
Nope, wrong one.
Build number.
Q.
Build number.
Build date. Build number. There you go.
There we go.
And then developer options, and it's in there somewhere.
Yeah. There we go. There. Wait. No.
It did it.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
it's way out. You're way off to the side.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Ah, much better. Okay.
You don't have.
Just lock my door. I just tapped it one time and it says C in line. Sign it in line.
Too bad. Get more.
No, it's great.
Alright, so anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and create a task, hitting the plus button down here. Alright, you can name your task whatever you want. So we'll call this, I don't know, do something. Alright, so we're in the task edit screen now. And what we have here, you can cancel the task, you can play it, you can add new actions to the task, and then there's a couple other settings you can do. So right now we're going to add an action. So there's all sorts of actions the tasker can do, and they're all sorted in these little categories. It's got a search function. You can actually search for things if you need to. If
Oh
you
my
don't
god,
remember what
there's a
categories.
search function?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's a ton. So
I've spent like 5 minutes before, like going through each
Oh,
one of those,
yeah.
looking for the one item I needed.
right, yeah, you can definitely just search for it. So one of the useful things that I use a lot is the flash. So that's a toast. If you know Android terms, it's a little pop-up at the bottom of your screen. So it says, I'm something, and that's close enough. I'm slaying. So it's got text. Every action has a bunch of different options. Long lets this pop up for longer rather than just like a second. It'll last like 7 seconds or so. And then these other things I'll get to later. The if and label are on pretty much every action, but the rest of the actions are specific. So now I have an action in this task, and I can run.
I don't have a label on mine.
You don't have a what?
You said,
Label at the bottom.
yeah, there's no label.
That might be
I don't
a
have
thing that
it
you have to
either.
turn on.
It's fine.
Let's see. Yeah, I'll get back to that then.
Okay.
It's not super important. So now I have this action in this task, and to test this whole task, I can hit the play button, and it'll run all the actions that are in there. So you saw it has the little toast pop up, and it's got the little message. So you can use that to test things, make sure things are happening when you're. I need to stop. When you're trying to figure out, what's the flow of your tasks. Are your tasks actually getting triggered? What values do some of the things output? This little green thing shows you that it ran through there.
Turn off the rotation.
Yeah, I need to do that.
It's right there. It's right where.
Auto rotate.
Auto-rotate.
Rotate.
Perfect. Okay. I forgot I thought I had pulled that off because I never used it.
Wow, why isn't Tasker doing it for you?
Right? So I'll just go over some of the other little things. Here you got a notification. You can set LEDs, you can do sounds, little pop-ups. Say is kind of neat. It uses the text-to-speech engine and actually says whatever text you want in there out loud. You can choose which engine you want. So in Tasker, there's this little magnifying glass that pops up on a lot of things, and that's to search for an option. Like, so right now, I could type in default, but I'm not going to ever remember, what the text-to-speech engines are. So, but you can change. So if I go to the Google text-to-speech engine, there's English USA or whatever. See, I'm never going to remember this, so you can use the magnifying glass to figure that out. But yeah, like you can see, there's different settings: pitch, speed, some audio focus stuff, network to use the network. If you don't know what an option means, if you hit the help button up at the top, it actually tells you what all the options do usually. Yeah, so network uses network synthesis. It's supported by the current engine. So like the Google engine actually has a much better voice if you let it have the network, because it actually uses Google servers to generate the text-to-speech and sends it down to your phone. So stuff like that you can find out just on the help screen. So that's tasks. You can chain up things. It will run them in order. It'll just from top to bottom. So if you want to reorder something, so let's do.
So what's the difference between notify and there was another one. So there's notify and then there's pop up and do you know the difference between those?
So a notify is your standard Android notification that
Okay.
pops up in there. Pop-up is a little bit different. You can actually choose a background image and like a layout of the thing.
Oh.
It brings like an image up in front of your screen.
Okay.
So I'm just going to do 2 flashes so I can show you all the order. Second thing. So if I play this right now, it'll do the first one, and then it'll do the second one. If you want to change the order, you grab the action, and you can like move it around. So I can drop it up there. I think by default you have to grab it on the right hand side, but I set mine to the left hand side, so you can choose where you can grab it from. But yeah, so you can move them around, change the order, and then to delete one, you actually grab it and take it down to the trash can, and that's how you delete it. That's not 100% intuitive unless you own like a 1990s Macintosh, where that makes a little more sense.
How do you move them around?
How do you what?
How do you move them around?
I think you grab them on the right hand side, like right
Got
here.
the lightning.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Another thing you can do when you're editing your tasks is if you press and hold, you can copy, cut, and disable. So if you disable, it'll bring up this little bar, and then the next time you run the task, it'll actually skip that. So it's like commenting out a line of code, or just temporarily pulling it out. Like maybe something's not working and you just want to pull that out, try something out. You can disable it. If you have, let me add another flash. So I guess I don't know if this was completely clear, but so after you type in all your things, you hit the back button, and that takes you back to your. I guess I didn't make that clear. But so now it's only going to run the second one. You can actually go and select multiple things, copy, cut, disable them at a time. Put them all back, stuff like that. So you can copy and paste from one task to another, stuff like that. I think that's all I have to say about tasks right now. I'll get into some more complicated task stuff in a minute. So now that I'm finished with the task, I hit the back button, it goes back, and it's in my list of tasks. So I can always go back in there, edit it, come back to it later. I can move it around, delete it, same way. Same way you take it down to the trash can to delete it. I can press and hold, rename it, clone it, delete it from up there. So really, if you don't know what to do on something, you can kind of press and hold. That usually handles your movement of it, deletions, cloning, renames. All right, so that's a task. But now we need something to trigger that task. We don't want to open up Tasker and hit the play button for this message to show up. So that's what profiles are. I think it's poorly named. I think they should be called triggers or events or something. But they call them profiles, so that's what it is. So profiles you create the same way. You hit the little plus, you give it a name. So let's say my name is @MakersLocal.
It's not doing that for us. It says first context, and then it gives us a list of things to choose from.
Okay, well it might not let you have that.
No, I mean it's. So do we pick application first, or?
Well, so the reason it's not asking for the name. So if you go to preferences. There is UI, beginner mode. If you turn off beginner mode, I forgot some of these little things are in there. So I can either flip beginner mode on, or y'all can turn beginner mode off.
Turning it off.
Okay.
That's what we're here for.
All right. All right. So create a new task.
It's still doing it.
Let's still do it.
Still doing it? Let's see.
Though I now have VARs, which is what I was going to ask you about.
Okay. Then it's probably something else in there. Always ask for new profile name. Must be it. Some of these things have changed over the last couple of years, so this might have been a default thing for me and not for new things. I don't know.
There.
So
Okay.
confirm profile deletes, confirm other deletes. You can change your text guys. Auto collapse mania. That's talking about if you open up a bunch of profiles. It's all just UI look and feel kind of stuff. One thing that's good to know is, I think it's in here. Maybe not. There's the pop-up errors and warnings. That's nice to turn on if you're having weird problems. Basically, when you come back into Tasker, if something didn't happen, you can come back and it might have had an error where just something freaked out and it crashed, ran out of memory, something got closed, whatever. So errors and warnings will pop up when you come back into Tasker. So that's handy. You can also debug to the system log and store that when you come back to it later. Anyway, back to profiles. New profile. Mark it's local. Yeah. Alright, so these are the different trigger categories. So it's kind of like the tasks. The most common ones you'll probably run into are events and states. But there's things that you can do on certain days. There's certain application triggers. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to a state. Because what I want to do is I want to display a message on my phone whenever I get to Makers Local. So how am I going to do that? What I'm going to do is net, and I'm going to look for when I'm near the Makers Local Wi-Fi. So there's a Wi-Fi near, you can also do Wi-Fi connected. So it lets you choose the SSID. So if you hit the little magnifying glass, it shows you all the SSIDs of the Wi-Fis around here. Let's grab this guy. If you want to be a little more picky, you can also set the MAC address, just so that, if maybe your home router's SSID is net here, and you don't want your thing thinking you're at home when you're driving around the road. There's stuff that says net here all over the place, so I can set the MAC address there too. There's all sorts of minimum signal levels and crazy things like that. So now I've created this state for this profile. So I hit the back button, and it's going to say, what task do you want me to run when this state gets triggered? So I can either create a new task right now, or I can use a task that I've already created. So I'll go ahead and use the do something. So let's go back in here, make sure that this thing still works. I'm saying, good. All right, that's something I would say when I get to Makers Local, right? So now I hit back. So this is my profile. It's got the name up here, and it's got this this event, this state here. You can rename it if I wanted to say like near Makers Local Wi-Fi to be a little more specific, so it's not so verbose. But I'll just leave it for now. But and then you can activate or deactivate this profile. But it's not actually set yet. So to actually get this to start listening for Wi-Fi to do its event, you actually have to hit back on this screen, and it closes out a Tasker, and it gets everything set up, and then notice it picked up. It's like, oh, I see Makers Local Wi-Fi. There's the thing, and it popped up the message. So that back thing to close Tasker is a little unintuitive. There's all sorts of little quirks and stuff. And now you'll notice it's green. So when it's green, that means we're actually in this state. It says, I do see all of, I see Makers Local Wi-Fi. I think if I turn off, no, I can't turn off Wi-Fi because I'm casting. But if I were to turn off Wi-Fi, it should go black, and then it won't be in that state anymore. So for this, all it did was do something when I entered a state. You can actually add, if I press and hold on that task that it's going to do, I can add an exit task, and what that'll do is it'll run a different task when the state is done. So when I leave and it doesn't see Makers Local Wi-Fi anymore, I can run something else. So that can be really handy, like my car mode, for example. That's one where I say, when I get in the car, do this thing. When I exit the car, switch all these things back. So I'm not going to add one there. There were a couple other options. You can change this task out for a new one. I have one task. So some of the other profile options. There's events. So you can say, if I get a missed call or a text, if I get a text from a specific person, I can even go hunt down a specific contact, or just type something in. I can I can check for a text that has certain content in it. The type is MMS or SMS. So if you want to check just for picture messages, you can do that. So that's an event trigger. Event triggers don't have a state like the state triggers do, so they don't have exit tasks. 95% sure that statement is true. But so notice it's I got the text, received text any, and it's asking me for my task to run. If I was just playing around and like, oh, I actually don't have a task to run for that, if you just click outside of the thing, it'll say, hey, do you want to delete that unfinished profile, because profiles have to have tasks, and I can delete it, come back to it later or whatever. Some of the other really nifty things. So this, whatever, doesn't matter. Location-based stuff. So this is actually pretty crazy how well it can do some of this stuff. I'm going to go find where I am right now. But you can do triggers based on where you are in the world. And it doesn't want to find where I am in the world right now.
We're in a metal box.
Right, that's probably not helping.
But it says it uses net, so it should.
So it's got two different options for discovering where you are geolocation GPS wise. Is you can use your hardware GPS on your phone. The problem with that is that takes up a lot of battery. So you're always running your GPS. You can run down your battery pretty quick. What net is it uses the cell towers to detect where you are, and that uses almost no battery because your phone's already connecting to cell towers, trying to figure out where you are, trying to figure out what the best cell tower to connect to is, receiving, sending data. Your phones are already doing all this stuff, and this just taps into that, so it doesn't use a whole lot more power. It's not as accurate, but it can be really handy if you want to say, like, am I near my house? And it can kind of guess.
Is there some database of log tower to GPS location? Or?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I'm not sure if there's a database or if it's just looking at. I guess it has to be some sort of database. I think that net may also look at Wi-Fi stuff if Wi-Fi is on. I'm not.
Because
Yeah.
Google actually keeps track of what Wi-Fi is where.
Right. So yeah, Google definitely has a
I would not be surprised
database.
at all if they knew that Maker's local Wi-Fi was here.
That's probably why it was able to pick me up so quickly.
In fact, I know it does that because I've done it on my computer and it knew exactly where I was.
Right. So right now I can create a profile and I can say if I'm within 400 meters of Maker's local. So I'll hit back. So that's my trigger, or that's my event or location trigger. It doesn't matter. Gave it a name, I guess. I can do something when it detects whether I'm in that range. Same thing with the state triggers. I can add an exit task so that when I leave that range, it does something else. There's a couple of tricks that you can do if you notice that you're kind of like bouncing between things. Like if you're, maybe it thinks you're here, but you're in a giant metal building, so your GPS might jump you away, 1,000 feet every once in a while or whatever. And I'll go over some of the pieces that you can use to kind of solidify that if you need to. But usually I like to say, I don't like to base things solely off location. I like to grab things that are more present, that don't use as much battery, like is there a Wi-Fi hotspot? Is there some other trigger that I can tell when I'm at the shop? One thing that people do use when they want to use the GPS and not drain their battery is they'll use net to detect when they're close to something, and then when it detects that they're close, they'll actually turn on GPS for a second and check to see if they're really specifically there. So you can use that to kind of like fine tune that point and kind of avoid some of those battery drain issues.
So you can set up two separate
Right, yeah, you can set
One
up.
will detect that you're close, and then it'll turn on your GPS, and then you're right on target, it'll do whatever.
Right, right, and you can have that maybe on for just a couple of seconds, long enough to grab a lock and then move over.
What do you think about opening the door all the way so we can get a little more air?
Yeah, that's fine. Ah, damn it!
Well, there's that too, but I'm worried about the noise level.
So that's the basic idea on how to create a profile, how to create a task, how to link them together. But there's only so much you can do using just triggers and tasks. Sometimes you want a trigger to store a value that you can go use in a task later, or make a decision, or keep a log, or some other more complicated piece. And you can do that using variables. So if you have the advanced mode turned on, you have access to these variables, which apparently don't clear when I clear all the data. So these are variables stuck from my all sorts of things that are hooked up. But you can create them here, or you can create them in a task. So I'll go show a variable thing in a task. Actually, before I do user variables, I'm going to show you tasker variables. So those are actually really, really useful. So I had this do something thing, right? And it flashes some text that I just kind of hard coded in. If I want to do something a little cooler, like let's say I want this to flash my battery is at. What is this? So I went ahead and put my hard-coded text in. Over here, there's this little tag, and this brings up variables. So all these at the top are my custom variables, but you can actually have all sorts of, these are all built-in variables. So if I go find battery level, and I go back, and I run this, my battery life is at 88. So that can be really useful for a lot of different things. The different variables you have call time, cell signal, the day, all these email things. Or so when you get an email, it tells you the last email date from subject, message, body, time, your free memory, your GPS status, all sorts of, your light level. You can detect your light level. So displaying that is kind of cool, but what's really useful is if you use some of those things as like a trigger. So if I go make a new profile and say battery is low, and then I go to state, and then I go find the battery, which is power, battery level, and I can actually set this, say if my battery is below, let's say 10%. My battery is less than 10%. Invert just says if my battery is not less than 10%. So for this, not as critical, but so I go back, I'll create a new task. Let's say this one is called.
What the hell was that?
It's Dicky.
No.
So let's say this task is called Text Kirsten.
Or a cat.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this send an SMS, and the phone number is going to be Kirsten. So I'm going to go hunt down Kirsten for my phone book.
You know what's great? Full screen keyboards.
Right? There she is. So it grabs her number. Let me erase it for now. So I don't actually send that. So I don't send her things.
Put it on blast.
Right. So let's say my message is, hey, no. Hey, battery is low.
Lube, batteries lube. I feel like this is probably a good thing to do.
Right?
I was sitting right there.
So what I can do is I can go grab that battery level and I can actually include it in the text message.
Well, it's always going to be 10%. Well,
Unless I turn it on and it's already low.
Or if it jumps, the battery shit.
Possible to get the message right as it's doing the shutdown sequence.
I don't know. I would probably try to do it before then.
like 1%.
Please don't kill me.
Right.
Or at 0, because I think like my phone will go to 0 for a very short time before it actually dies.
So basically what would happen is it would get down to 10%, it would text the person, let her know, hey, my battery's dying, I'm not dead in the ditch, hopefully. But that's why you can't get to me. Things like that. So we'll go ahead and cancel this. Delete that from the profile. So what I could also do is, let me actually go back to a task. Create a new one. Is if I go to the variables category, I can also set variables and query variables. So if I wanted to set, last something, I don't know, last something. I don't think you can have spaces.
You can't, and there's something to do with like if they're capitals, they're global or something.
Yeah.
And if they're
there's some little things, and I think it tells you about that in the help. Advisable not to make it a sequence that appears in other text. So don't call it.
names all in lowercase are local variables and only visible to the current task.
Right. So you can append. So if I can set it to 5, and that will set it to a variable, and since it's not all lowercase, it'll be a global variable that I can go grab from another task. So I can, if maybe I'll have a trigger that doesn't do anything but set a variable, like grab the time, for example. Like maybe when battery hits 20%, I want to find out what time that happened at, or it got a certain message. What time did that happen at? Or like what time did I get to work? If you want to track, how long you're at work, you can say grab the time when you get to work, set it to a variable. Then when you leave work, do the math, subtract it, and say, oh, you were at work for 9 hours today. And maybe store that in a text file, or send it to some web API. You can do all sorts of nifty little automation things like that, just using the variables by storing the values. It even has like
How did you
what?
How did you set the value?
The value is just right here, 2.
Okay.
This is variable set action.
Okay.
There's also arrays. You can actually pop, make these lists of numbers. You can pop things off the top of a stack, essentially, of the array.
I use that to run as root an SQL statement on an SQLite database for the Noom walking app to pull my current steps every few minutes, and then it pipes it into a variable, and then I do stuff with that variable.
Right. So yeah, there's randomize. There's split, which is kind of like it's like the split function of most languages, where you can split on a character.
It's
or
not letting
any
me.
optional splitter string. So that's nice if you're doing something more.
It's just letting me create a variable. It's not taking me to that menu.
This is a task. This is an action.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. I'm not on the variables page right now.
Okay.
The variables page keeps track of your global variables, and you can manually set them there. You can delete them, create them, whatever you need to do there. Yeah. So some of the stuff like Nathan was talking about.
Sorry, I jumped ahead.
No, that's good. Some of the actions are code actions. You can run Java functions, JavaScript, shell scripts, all sorts of. I don't know what a JavaScript lit is, but I can always find out by hitting the help. Run a piece of JavaScript. I don't know. But there's a huge user guide online that you can go and find much more information about each and every action and state and trigger and all that. Yeah, there's little libraries I can feed in here. I haven't even opened all of the actions and triggers that it can do. But I think what Nathan did was he did the file. I think you did an open. Wait, did you say?
No, I run.
Oh, you ran an actual shell script to do a SQL query. Because that shell script can return values that you pipe into a variable. One of the things I like to do is in the net actions, I can do HTTP gets and posts. So I can actually hit like a REST API from my phone using Tasker. So like Red Queen is a REST API that I can hit and push messages out to the Red Queen bot whenever some trigger happens. And like you can set all those specific things that you need to for that. You can do a post. I don't know exactly what all of these are. I think Wi-Fi lets you toggle Wi-Fi on and off, or set to on, set to off, or toggle it. That's pretty much the same for USB tether, mobile data. So one thing people like to do is that when they're connected to Wi-Fi, turn off the 4G, 3G radios, save battery life. So you can do that, especially if you're in like a building that doesn't have good signal. You can turn off that when you're on Wi-Fi. You can save a lot of battery life because it's sitting there trying to grab those little airwaves, reaching out there, just grabbing the airwaves, because that's how it works, right? I'm not an electrical engineer.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, and it's trying to grab, trying to receive data. Trying to see if there were any like really so for the app actions, you can actually tell it to go back to the home screen. You can kill specific apps. So this is a very soft kill. So this doesn't kill it very strongly like some apps need. I think if I kill Tasker, I think he comes back. But there's ways to get around that. And one of those ways. What?
I said kill that shine.
Oh yeah. And I think I have it in a plugin.
Plugins? What are
I
those?
think this is a plugin.
What's the difference between a plugin and a third party?
So third party is useless.
Yep, I was just about to say.
So plugins are third-party triggers and events and tasks and everything that you can install from like the App Store. I'll go over some of my favorite ones. There's this guy named Jao, J-A-O-A-O-A-O. It's a number of vowels. He's Portuguese. He makes a bunch of awesome Tasker plugins that do really crazy things.
Third parties are
built-in plugins, basically.
yes. So if your app like BeyondPod supports Tasker actions, then it will just show up there.
Usually, though, because third party has to be added by the people who make Tasker, it's a lot harder to get those added in than to just pretend like you're a Tasker plugin yourself.
So
I don't think so.
Sleepbot.
I think
Really?
Yeah, because I think the BeyondPod guys were able to just I don't know. Maybe you're right.
I don't know. Maybe there's a slight difference, but
So Sleepbot actually has a third-party
okay.
action.
Was it in mine too, or was it just on yours?
Yeah, it's in mine.
Yeah, so I think these
You-
have to
you
be.
probably
there
have to
begin
have it
with.
installed.
Yeah, and so it's red. It won't let me do it because it says it's not installed or not available on this device. That message pops up when you try to do things that your device can't support. Let's see, probably system one. Let's see, no. Like for some reason, mine I can't set airplane mode in 4.2 plus. I don't know why. It's something that Google changed in their API. You can't do that anymore with the built-in stuff. So there's a plugin that is free called Secure Settings. And secure settings is all of those really hard things that you can force your phone to do that TaskScript might not really have access to or want to let you do. Secure settings grabs you that lower level hardware control.
And that's accessible from the App Store? You just
Secure settings you download from the App Store. It's really powerful when you're root because it can do even more things.
Like, do you have to be root?
You don't have to be root to use secure settings, but you do have to be root to do a lot of things in secure settings. So plugins are a little bit different. In Screen, as soon as I selected the plugin, there's really not anything here, right? It's got a timeout, continue task after error, and hit back to you later. But the bulk of configuration is in here. You have the little pencil, and it opens up the Secure Settings plugin app, and it gives you all these fun little things. So I think I can, SIP calls. I mean, like you do Wi-Fi, wake device. You can wake up the device. You can enable, disable the key guard. Secured, monitor settings. This is actually monitoring for changes to secure settings options. Dev actions, trigger the camera, set the password and PIN. All these other things that are disabled for some reason. I'm sure it'll tell me why as soon as I click on them. There's another module I can plug in that apparently I don't have that I should probably get. NFC stuff, some root actions, background access, changing the default SMS app, hardware overlays, changing your home launcher, rebooting your phone, enabling USB tether, changing what the power button lock does, wireless ADB, enable, disable. So it lets you get some really, really fine-tuned little pieces. There's even some little expose modules pop up in here when you root. I think there was, maybe it's not in secure settings, but you can even set your device to overclock, and maybe when your battery dies below a certain point, turn that off, turn your brightness down, preserve that last 20% of battery. Now I want to go back to a task and do a little bit more complicated task. Maybe sometime when trigger happens, you want to check some other options and say, I don't want to just every time I'm at Maker's Local do this thing. Maybe if I'm at Maker's Local on a Tuesday, do something different. So there's two ways to do that. So the first one is in the profiles. If I tap this, open it up, I can actually press and hold on this first guy, and I can actually add another trigger to this. So let's say it is a Tuesday. Go back. So now, if I'm at Maker's Local on a Tuesday, this thing will trigger. Notice it's still green because I actually haven't backed out and triggered this yet. So if I go back, hopefully when I come back in, it won't be green anymore. But that was an error message thing that popped up. So now it's not green. I think it was unhappy about this task. So since today is not Tuesday, this thing didn't trigger. So these are ands. You can't do ors this way, but the way to do an or is just create another profile that goes to the same task. So I know Llama fans out there who have your ors and ands and XORs and all that stuff. This does it a little bit differently.
Why is it marked?
Because that's what I typed and what I'm sticking with. So I'm creating a proposal right now to change our name to Markets Local. So all in favor? Markets Local. McDonald's.
No frivolous proposals.
So let me go delete that in context. So the other way to do that is in the task itself, I can actually, there's actually two ways to do it inside here even. But if I go to task, I can actually do an if. So I can say if okay. If, and I'm sure there's a day of week thing here. If day of week is Tuesday. So here's my if. So I'm going to drag it up to the top. And it's just like code. It's like your beautiful, beautiful Python where everything's indented properly automatically and it has to be indented that way. Then I create, go back to task, and I need an indent. Not 100% necessary all the time, but just always put your indent. So now it says if day of the week is Tuesday, do these things. Else we're not going to do anything else.
How did you get there again?
This was in the actions. It's under tasks. So right now, if I run this, it's probably going to fail. So what happened is it ran. So you see the green dots. So it ran it. This red thing means the last time it ran, this was a false statement. So you can kind of use that to debug. But I don't actually know what was stored in this variable. I don't know if it's 2s or 3 or, I don't know how it represents day of the week. So that's why I said doing the flash is really handy, because then I can just say flash day of the week. Run this guy. Oh, it spells it out all the way, capital T. So that can be really handy. With the if stuff, you can actually do if, else if. You can do for loops. You can actually use this to run other tasks. So if you have, a task that might be just to do like a helper function where you want to use it from a whole bunch of tasks, like, call Kirsten and text her and email my mom or something. I don't know. I could do if I do that a lot in my triggers.
That's what happens if he doesn't touch his phone
Right.
for like a day.
Then I
Good man,
can pull those in a task, and then I can just perform tasks from inside another one. Priority is interesting. If you want to call other tasks, read the help on it. Basically, if the priority is lower than the current task, then the current task will finish. Then it will run your task. If it's higher, then it's going to go ahead and run it. And if they're the same, it'll actually alternate actions back and forth and zipper it as it runs. So it can be kind of neat. It can be kind of annoying if you forget, oh, I forgot my priority was higher than this one. And once you start nesting tasks inside of tasks inside of tasks, it's hard to keep track of your priority. But that's the running a task inside a task. So I have a whole bunch of tasks, and as you can kind of imagine, I can see 2 of them right now. So if I have 30 tasks, it's going to get really unwieldy, really quick to find profiles on tasks. Which profile does what, which task does what. So down here you see this little home button. You can actually create. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. Okay, press and hold the plus button. I think. No. Oh, okay, so this might be what you see, actually. You might not see the home at first, right? Maybe. No.
I see the home.
There it goes. Press and hold the home icon. You can add a new project. The project is just a collection of profiles, tasks, and the variables are actually shared, I believe, across all the projects. But the tasks and profiles can be grouped together. So I'm going to call this one blah. It says blah down there. I can press and hold it and give it an icon. Built-in icons are nice. I can make a hippo if I want, whatever. And now it's a clean slate for me to put a whole bunch of stuff in. So I'm going to bring up real quick.
And do those run in parallel or?
Yeah, they all run as if they're all together.
Okay. But you can have different like themes or something.
Yeah, so I'll bring mine up real quick. So I like to back up my tasks pretty frequently because if my phone explodes or whatever, I want to be able to get all all these tasks back. I've spent a lot of time building them. So if you go to data, you can actually clear, backup, restore, share data. It saves them in a little XML file, so you can always pull it back. You can email it to yourself. You can save it to Dropbox. It stores it to your SD card by default. So I'm going to restore. It's okay, we're going to erase all this. So I have all sorts of things, and all sorts of projects that do a bunch of different things. Voice commands. These are like example things that I just need to like try. This is like a little helper set of functions that I cleared most of them out. But like if I had all those in one project, it would have gotten really unwieldy. I would have been really annoyed finding where things are. So like this inner car mode task, what this does, it sets a variable. I don't actually use that for much right now, but I made a variable called car mode, set it to 1, set it to true, you can set it to a string, you can set it to whatever. This was for something, you can ignore that. Turns off Wi-Fi, launches Spotify, waits a couple seconds, turns the media volume and the voice Bluetooth volume up. It says car Bluetooth is now connected using my text-to-speech voice. It waits a couple more seconds and then starts playing. What it used to do was check my to-do list when I was leaving Maker's Local to make sure I did all the things I was supposed to do that day, like building Casca, which I needed to do today. But I've since dismantled that, so that's why it's just kind of disabled. I can probably delete it. But you can kind of start to see like how some of this stuff starts to fit together.
Is there a real programming mode for it that way I don't have to drag and drop all the time?
The XML is editable.
That bad.
It's not fun. So it's not that I'm aware of. Someone may have heard something since the last time I've looked into all that. But what you can do is you can use like the scripts, these write shell scripts or JavaScript scripts. You can kind of like abstract away all that into code and then just run those scripts. At least for tasks. For profiles, not so much, but profiles usually aren't very complicated anyway. It's one thing. It's nice to be able to click and choose those. So that's what I would recommend if you wanted to really code something. Because that JavaScript thing actually had access to all the tasker things via its function calls. So you can do pretty much anything you can do on here with the JavaScript script.
So is there a way to convert the XML to JavaScript?
I don't know. One of the things I do is right here. Let's see. Oh yeah, so this is my bedtime. If it's bedtime, which is after 10 o'clock and before 7:30 a.m. And my power is plugged in, and I'm not near Maker's Local. And I actually have it enable the light sensor on that trigger as well. Then it goes into sleep mode, which sets the brightness down. It does auto alarms plug in. I can go over that in a bit. It sets these variables. Sets some more variables. Does some math to do some rounding and stuff. So what auto alarm is? It's one of Jowl's plugins, and what it actually does is it checks your system alarm clock and can pull data from like your next alarm, your last alarm. What is it set to? What I do is I actually go and I look at what time is my next alarm, and it pops up on my screen and says your alarm for that time will go off in so many hours. So like when I plug this in and I'm ready for bed, it brings down the brightness and it says I'm going to get 4 hours of sleep tonight because I stayed at Maker's Local too long. Turns the media volume down, puts it on silent mode. I used to have it say that out loud, but then I realized I don't want this thing talking to me when I'm going to bed, so I just pop that out. And my if check was actually if it's less than 12 hours. So if it's more than 12 hours, like let's say I plug it in
Saturday morning.
Yeah, or Friday night. Plug it in Friday night, and my alarm is set for Monday morning, and I don't want it to tell me that my alarm is going to go off in 72 hours or whatever, 36 hours. I wanted to pass on that. So I did the if check. So I actually kind of skipped that, but you can actually do ifs on each task, as well as doing that if block, that if keyword. So this is really simple. If you have one thing in your if statement, you can set the one thing, it works just the same. If you have more than one, I would use the if blocks, because then you can have just a whole block of things around it. Let's see. I'm going to gloss over scenes, because scenes are pretty complex. I don't know what this scene does, so I'm going to try it. Okay. So this is a scene. Scenes are like build your own GUI in Tasker. So what I was working on here was that when I went to bed, it would pop up this scene. This is an overlay over whatever app I had open or whatever, giving me a button to turn off my lights. I have an IR blaster on my phone and an IR receiver on my lights, so I can turn them off. You can set it up to hit an HTTP. REST API, if you have like a Z-Wave thing and turn off your lights, lock the doors, whatever. But I created this button. It's got the geometry, the label size, its position, icons, its actions. So right now it just destroys the scene. It didn't actually do anything, it just made the scene go away. You can make a long tab, it does something different. You can build almost applications using the scenes, but that's a little more manual than I usually use Tasker for. I like things happening without me touching it. They just happen in the background and automatic. But some of this stuff is nice. If you have a certain app that you want a scene to pop up and do like an overlay, and like maybe display like a clock in an app that normally hides the clock away or something like that, you can do that. Or a counter saying how long you were in the Facebook app, and you can see that little counter counting up, and you're like, oh, you've been on Facebook 5 minutes. You can do all sorts of crazy little things like that. So the plugins that Zhao makes, he makes a suite of plugins called Auto Apps. And I will bring up the Auto Apps app, so it's a little meta. Turned off the screen rotation. Maybe not. Okay. Anyway. I guess I can't rotate this sideways. Anyway. So, he's got all of these apps, and that's not even all of them. Some of the more notable ones are Auto Voice and Auto Input. Auto Wear is awesome if you have an Android Wear device. It can be used kind of like the scenes, but create scenes on your watch and like put things on your watch and stuff like that. So you can actually bring up like a custom UI you build that sits over your watch face. You can tap things and trigger tasks and turn on profiles and all sorts of stuff. Like I was saying, I use Auto Alarm. Auto Cast is awesome if you have a Chromecast. Same thing, scenes, but for the Chromecast. You can cast arbitrary web pages with videos that play, or news tickers, or stock prices, or your daily commute to work. How long that's going to take. Custom web page with JavaScript and like YouTube embeds and stuff like that. Auto Remote lets you talk to servers using their little remote protocol thing. Lets you like basically SSH into servers and kind of run commands, send messages back and forth.
Why are some of them locked?
What?
Why do you have the locks on some of them?
So this, I don't know why that one's locked, because I totally have that one. I think these I haven't bought.
The gray ones probably.
No, it's because I'm not signed in to Google right now. For some reason, I don't know what. But basically, a lot of these you have to pay for. They have free versions that can do some version or some functionality, but to get the full functionality, it's like $1.20 usually for most of these. The free version is good to find out, hey, am I actually going to use this thing? It's kind of annoying if I can only do 3 actions or whatever, but I can find out, is this thing going to be useful? Try it out. Does this cast thing actually cast my Chromecast? Stuff like that. Auto Contacts is just a more involved, in-depth version of the contact access that you get built into Tasker. You can get contact profile pictures and phone numbers and extra tags and all sorts of little pieces of information about contacts if you need to use them for something else. If you want to read out names, read out nicknames. It's also, he's got these apps that he puts in alpha. I'm not a subscriber about the apps. It's got auto calendar, auto Gmail. Since Gmail introduced that REST API, you can actually get at a lot of your Gmail stuff through an API, and he wrote a plugin that lets you do some nifty things like that are a little more specific than just the normal notifications. Auto photo, I don't know what exactly every one of them does, but that one lets you do the camera and do some really specific photo stuff. Weather is just a nice wrapper for some of the weather stuff, so you don't have to hunt down APIs. YouTube lets you automatically play YouTube videos and search for YouTube videos and cast them to Chromecast.
One of the things that he shows off sometimes is that, or one of his videos is that he uses auto voice to say, play a song, and then he says the song name, it searches for that on YouTube and starts playing the video on his phone, or he can say play it on the Xbox, his Xbox Media Center, and it will go do that.
Right. So auto voice. Auto voice ties into the Google Now voice search stuff, so you can actually have things set up. I think these are all disabled for some reason. Let's give it a shot. Let's see if this thing still works. No. This API is probably long gone. But what I used to have was I could say, go to the home screen and say, okay Google, what's the current Bitcoin price? And the auto voice says, receive this command, what's the current Bitcoin price? And it actually went and ran a task. So that's why I made that extra noise. That was part of that task. So you can do all sorts of cool things. I had it say what's the temperature of my house? Goes, hits the Nest API, grabs the temperature of the house, says it out loud using the say command. So adding custom OK Google commands can be done with the auto voice plugin. So that's one of the ones I had used a lot. I haven't used it as much anymore.
Okay, Google.
Horse porn.
Nope. Oh, that's what, yeah, the return value came back was not the format I was expecting, so it broke when I tried to split it up. Do you have any burning questions about certain things? What?
So one of the things I'd like to do is, instead of setting an alarm that just plays one particular track off my phone, I'd like to start a Google Play playlist.
Okay.
Is that a possibility? I mean,
it depends on the Google Play API. I believe it has, Android has intents, which are little messages, that you send between apps, and Tasker, or one of the plugins, I think Tasker can do it on its own, can send intents. So if you can find out what intents trigger playlists and stuff like that in Google Play, you can have it trigger those off and send them off. Sometimes applications will have an API that lets you send an intent that's search for playlist and play. One of the ones I use actually pretty frequently. Let's see if I have it here. I don't remember if it's on here. But Evernote has a pretty good set of intents. So I can actually open up a specific Evernote note based on a trigger. So if I have a to-do list in Evernote, I can say, bring that up when I leave work. And it'll bring it up and I can check off the things that I need to do. Or I can create a new note. I can delete note. You might not be able to delete notes, but you can create notes, open notes in the app. There's a surprising number of apps that actually have intents that are available that you can go do things in that app. And if you can find that documented somewhere, you can call into those and do some really neat things with those apps.
How hard is it to export, like once you've created something you want to save, is there a way to export it to the cloud, or do you have to export it to a file and read the file?
So if you hit the menu up here and go to data, you can back up or share. And those, thanks always. Backup or share. Backup will save it to your SD card. Share lets you, it'll bring up a list of things that I can send it to. Email, Facebook, you know. I don't know why I want to store them on Facebook, but I can send them to myself in a message on Facebook. Push Bullet. Push Bullet's really awesome with Tasker. You can send messages to and from different computers and devices using Push Bullet. So if I want to, you know, pop up something on my desktop when my phone, you know, leaves, you know, a certain range or something like that, disconnects from my watch. It can send a message, pop up on my desktop, and I'm like, oh, I guess my phone just walked away from me while I'm sitting at the computer. I should probably go find it. But yeah, so add to Evernote. So Evernote actually has the share intents exposed in the Google API, so it actually makes it a little bit easier than hunting down these little intents and typing them in. Y'all have any other specific burning questions?
For all the different plugins, is it typical that you go into the plugin as a separate app and then configure your event and then tell it to execute a Tasker task?
Sometimes. Some of them are like that. I typically like when they don't do that.
Right.
Because I like configuring them from inside of Tasker. Even though they kind of open it up when you go to configure them. There are some plugins, they call them. I think Tasker exposes its tasks to other applications.
Right.
And you can call those from things like Trigger, I think you can call Tasker tasks.
So if I wanted to make changes like turning on Bluetooth and connecting to a specific access point, or connecting to a specific Bluetooth device like in here or in the office,
Right.
do you have a plugin that does that? Or because I didn't see that in the Tasker options.
Right. Let's see what's available. Let me clear all this stuff again.
I mean, for the most part, it's just which plugins do you find the most usable?
Right.
It's because instead of saying Bluetooth, it's BT.
Yeah.
They abbreviated it, so that
Could be.
Yeah, I've done some of that. I think you're right about like this just turns on or off Bluetooth, right? It doesn't actually connect to a specific one.
Right.
You might be able to do that in there's Bluetooth settings.
But there's nothing there.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I think they just open Bluetooth settings maybe?
Could be. That might actually be exactly what it is.
I think it's what most of that stuff does.
You can find out right now.
Oh god, don't do it.
It does!
Yep.
Okay. So that's handy. But I think that there. I think secure settings might let you do that. I'm not 100% sure.
You can also subscribe to all of the auto plugin guy. It's like, I don't know, $2 a month or something like that, and you can do like a subscription where you get all of his plugins. You just get to use them for as long as you have the subscription.
Yeah, so, since I turned on Bluetooth, it killed my cast. Oh, it brought it back. Okay.
Hooray.
So, text message. Secure settings actually lets you connect to a specific one.
Fun.
So I can save that. So let's say Belkin. There you go. Connect to Belkin G20.
Alright.
But yeah, there's a lot of plugins that, like, if you can't find something specific, there might be a plugin for it, especially if it is a common thing, like I want to connect to a specific Bluetooth device. Secure settings is an awesome one. Another one that I use a lot is, I believe it's called VDA Utilities. It does a lot of play pause stuff, but it has a lot of fixes for specific apps that act a little bit weird.
Yeah, most of them.
Right. Yeah. So and you can actually tell it default play
They all have weird.
Like if you don't have any media app and you send your phone the play command, it could do one of many things. Like on my phone, it likes to open up Apollo by default, even though I never use Apollo.
Because that's your
Your default system is
Right.
that.
Right. What smart media or media utilities can do is you can actually set your default thing to happen when you trigger it with this action. You can open up a specific media app and begin playing it. And it has a it has a bunch of like specific settings for media app.
For Juice SSH client for Android, they have a tasker plugin.
Yes.
And I found that useful for if I need to kick off a script based on an action that happens on my phone.
Right, yeah, so it can SSH into a server and run a command and stuff like that. So if you don't have maybe a REST API, that can be a good solution. I think I had used it for a little while to log into Casca and dispense money when I said make it rain. So okay, make it rain, it would go. Good chunk.
So I use the Canvas, the Canvas watch face for Pebble, and it will read. You can set it to read tasker variables. So one of the things that I have tasker goes out and pulls my steps from the new map, and then the Pebble will see that variable and then display it. So right now I've taken 5,002 steps.
I'll send you the MP3 of this.
Is there
The MP3.
is there a collection of like scripts that you can download for people?
Kind of. I've had mixed luck with importing like profiles and tasks. But if you press and hold somewhere up there, just you can actually go and import a file that's in this directory on your phone.
Okay.
Most people just give you a step-by-step, say go set this thing, because usually a task isn't more than like 10 little lines, so it's just easier just to go at it and tweak it, if it's slightly different on yours, if you have different plugins and stuff like that. But yeah, you can import and export tasks and profiles. It's probably more important for scenes, and I think that you can export the scenes just the same.
How do you get scenes again?
It's probably the advanced mode.
Oh, okay.
If that's turned on. Probably just profiles and tasks. You don't have the advanced mode turned on.
Now, this happened on my old phone, but for some reason, one of the tasks I created got stuck on nothing I could do, including uninstalling the application. Would make it go. I don't know how that works. I had to wipe the OS to make it stop doing it.
Wow. Okay. I've never run into that. I have run into minutes to hours of frustration by not hitting the back button and hitting the home button instead, going back to the home screen and figuring out why is my task not triggering or untriggering. So that's just a little nuance you have to remember, is to hit the back button just to trigger all your tasks to start monitoring again. They will still monitor when Tasker is open, I believe, but to add new ones or get rid of ones that you've deleted or turned off, you have to hit the back button. And that's why it takes a couple seconds when you hit the back button. It takes a couple seconds to figure stuff out, then it goes away.
My brain is full.
Any other questions, ideas, how to do something? Usually, running all these old things that I haven't run in a while is usually not a good idea because things have been updated.
There's battery left on my laptop.
If you're stuck trying to figure out something, you can let me know on IRC or something, and I can try to tell you, yes, that's possible, no, that's really hard. should do it anyway because it's awesome.
When you start trying to do intents, it's really difficult because it's hard to find the intents.
Right.
And then sometimes those intents need to have specific data associated with them and all kinds of.
Yeah, I
So
try
you're saying
to.
that doing intents is pretty intense.
Yes.
I try to avoid them when possible, just because they are not necessarily documented very well, and they're usually not documented very well at all, or at all. Because that's a per app thing that you have to worry about. So I'm just gonna play with the some of these task things that are kind of neat.
Secure settings is magic.
Yeah, secure settings is pretty magic. Notifications are pretty cool. Let's see. Spray, okay. This is a test. Give it an icon. Love that hippo. But I think I'm going to go do something more reasonable like A. Go back. Play this. Oh, I forgot that though. But here's my notification up there. I pull it down. This notification, I click it, it clears it away. But I can also have actions, give it a button, okay, give it another button, it says cancel. That action can go and call one of these action things, which could even be another task that it can go do. So if I go back and play this now, there's my notification. Actually I have two buttons, and cancel, sort that away. I think I have one of those that I actually use. It is target. Show target notification. That is the one that uses the Evernote thing. So when I get to Target, it connects to Target Wi-Fi. It brings up my shopping list. That's cool. I haven't used that in a while. I haven't been to Target in a while. But I can also, it brings up this thing, and I can tap it, and it actually goes and opens up Cartwheel that I don't have installed anymore because I haven't used it at all. It didn't do anything. So as soon as I go back to Tasker, I've been, oh, maybe not. That was going to yell at me. But you can do, little chained events like that, which is really handy, especially if the store has a Wi-Fi, point that you can connect to and be like, oh, I'm at the store now, do this thing. If I'm at Starbucks, go open up my Starbucks
You can
app.
do stuff just.
It's kind of like Passbook for iPhones.
Can you do stuff? You don't have to connect to the access
Right, as
point.
long as
You
you're
can
near
just-
it. Yeah, well, there is a one that requires that you connect to it. There's one that's if you're near it. Same thing with the Bluetooth. You don't have to connect to the Bluetooth. You can see if you're near the Bluetooth, which is magic. I don't know how that works.
Scanning for looking for all the.
I guess so. I
like
guess it has to
looking
be
for SSIDs.
No.
advertising.
There is magic that you can do if you know the MAC address.
Oh, that's true. Since you already knew the MAC address, you can ping it and it'll respond. And
I have done this recently.
Yeah.
It is magic because Android is stupid and caches data from different things. So
Okay.
there's actually a window of time where things will respond.
Yeah.
And then after that window, it's cache data.
Oh, okay.
It's really fucking annoying.
Yeah. Doesn't like the Wi-Fi here.
Nothing likes the Wi-Fi.
But I'm surprised the Chromecast thing has worked pretty well. I really like it for showing off the phone stuff. So let's see if I have any other cool. Yeah. So what I did was I made the target notification tapped trigger and went away. This is close enough, right? That was kind of neat that Google already tells you what the current Bitcoin price is. So that back when I made that action, it did not do that. It was just neat to have it verbally say back out to you as if that OK Google thing actually responded. One thing I had was whenever I opened LastPass, it would bring the screen brightness all the way down, so when I typed in my password, no one could see. Silly things like that.
Not even you.
Yeah, that's it got kind of annoying because it was not even me. Oh, see this one knows I'm here. Steel City Pops. When I'm near Steel City Pops in Birmingham, it lets me know that, hey, look there.
Do you go there
You have a
often?
punch card here. Don't forget to use that punch card because you never use that punch card.
In a couple of months, you'll be able to go there again.
What? I know, I'm so excited.
What is Steel City Pops?
They are a popsicle store. And they're
Use that word very.
yeah, they're delicious.
They
They have a peanut butter popsicle that is amazing. They have like a jalapeno
25%?
popsicle, jalapeno pineapple, artisan. They're
3 minutes to go.
delicious.
7%.
His battery is dying.
Yeah.
do that giant screen.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to update.
That and I've got everything turned on.
My brain's
Oh, this one's kind of neat. So this one, whenever I connect to my Amazon Echo, it enters Echo mode, which
Don't drop me, Bill.
right. Please don't drop me on my face.
What did you do, Phil?
He destroyed an Echo.
I didn't destroy it.
You just got disconnected.
Yeah. But basically, I haven't launched Spotify and do the same thing as the car mode stuff. Just a couple little tweaks.
And now your cast is gone.
But the neat thing about the Echo is that when I walk in there, I'm not connected all the time. I say, Alexa, connect to my phone. It goes, connects to my phone, then runs this thing. So it can be really handy to have completely hands-free stuff. Kind of like the OK Google stuff.
Do we have a Chromecast at the shop?
Uh,
I really just need to be able to.
you can cast from your computer and stuff. Do you want to Chromecast at the shop? Because you have to have that.
Yeah. I mean, sure, I'd be pissed off if someone stole it, but it's just a lot of times, it's nice to show people
Sure.
what's on the screen.
I was gonna like hack it or something. I'll bring it over here if we can.
I'll show this one the car mode, and I received a text message. So that's how I use that variable car mode setting. Dang it! It is not happy. But what it does is it calls the media utilities, calls the pause. It uses the say command to grab the message body and the message sender and say that out loud. So it says, message from whoever, here's the message. And then it plays the audio again after it's done. So it pauses it and ducks it up. I have NFC stuff. So when I scan my NFC tag at work, depending on what time of day it is, it does something different. At lunchtime, next person and lets her know I'm heading out for lunch. Because she used to come to lunch with me at Pandalana. And then in the afternoon, it opens up my to-do list from work and lets her know I'm heading out. What else I got? Anything else?
Not pulling up.
All right. Let me know if you have any questions. And
You ran over.
ran over.
So how hard would it be like using Hunter's new app that lets you use your make local credentials
Okay.
and cast or populate that web page?
So there's a thing called auto input by Jow that lets you like click on things and find fields and type things in. I don't know if that would work.
It almost certainly would.
I don't know if it would work well, but you could do something like that.
Okay.
What would be better is to have Hunter give you an API to hit.
That would
and
be a
use
lot
that
better.
instead,
Yes.
which you might be using in the background. I don't know. I think it's all PHP though. I don't think it is. Like a REST API for some of the stuff that Maker Baker does.
Yeah, I don't think there's an API to that because it's just PHP, and I think he's like literally logging into the box and running commands.
Okay.
So, what are you trying to do?
Well, I already have it set up that I can SSH if you want to unlock it, but I'd like to use Maker Baker. So able to go from all the little widgets and say, hit a button on my smartwatch is fair, or
Right.
to unlock the door. And in the background, it's just the water.
Right. Yeah, I would